We read about the Novi Sheker, the false prophet. He proves himself to be a prophet by performing a revealed miracle and by forecasting the future, and it actually happens as he said it would happen. And then he goes and he tells the people to serve a false god. So the Torah tells us he's definitely a false prophet, and God is testing you. God is testing you whether you love God with all your hearts and all your souls. I mean, how's this a test of Avos Hashem? Seems to be Yiras Hashem may not be sufficient. One needs Avos Hashem. If you have Avos Hashem and he's testing you to see Hayeshchem Ovis Hashem Elokechem B'chol Levavchem Nafshchem. To what degree is he Avos Hashem? But if you have sufficient Ava, you will not succumb to this test. Why is this test so difficult? A person performs a miracle, revealed miracle, brings about something which is unheard of. There's a plague, he comes, performs a miracle, the plague disappears. People recover in a context which was unheard of recovery, and he brought it about. And he's proven himself to be a prophet because he performed the miracle and forecasted the future. And he says, you know, God communicated to me you should go do idolatry. God is testing you. Hayeshchem Ovis Hashem. Do you love God or don't you love God? If you love God, you will not succumb. You'll be able to withstand the test. If not, it's not so simple. What is the concept of a nisoyon? Chazal tell us, lefum tzara agro, that the greater the pain, the greater the challenge, that will determine the greater degree of reward. Why? Because if it's more difficult, and despite the difficulty, you come through, that reveals and indicates and confirms your dedication to Hashem. Therefore, the fum tzari agro. A wealthy man gives $1, and a poor man gives that same $1. It's a different dimension of tzedakah for the poor man, because that $1 was a sacrifice. For the rich man, it doesn't mean anything. Although they're both doing the same mitzvah. Fum tzara agro. The more difficult the test, the greater is the person, the beneficiary, if he's able to withstand the test. Hashem gives a person endless tests. And a person feels beaten up. I've heard this recently from somebody. He's beaten up. With one test, he's beaten up. This person had multiple such tests. He's beaten up. Not so simple. In what context do you see it as a plus and as a gift rather than as Hashem's trying to destroy you? A person who is true Avos Hashem, why does he love Hashem? He loves Hashem because he sees the love that Hashem has for him. As the Maharal says, the greater you perceive and you understand God's love for you, you will love God more intensely. So if you see the test as an opportunity to advance yourself to a level which is unheard of, and therefore he gives me a more difficult test, what do you see that? It's a challenge, but you see it. God is giving to me because he loves me. So whether you're able to withstand it or not will determine and confirm whether you love Hashem. If you love him, you see it as an opportunity. You see it as a gift. But if you don't have love, Hashem, what do you want from me? Enough's enough. It's too much. The challenge is too overwhelming. So therefore, when Hashem is testing you, if you oives Hashem, then you see it as an opportunity, not as an overwhelming challenge which is impossible to address. The Gemara tells us in Brachos that you have people, when they receive Yisurim, suffering, it's Yisurim Shalava. Hashem is only complicating their lives because since they're at such a special level, They almost do everything naturally. There's no such thing as a challenge. So Hashem creates situations in their lives. He's given the Yisurim mi'ava, as Rashi says, only to increase their schar, to make things more complicated for them, that despite the complication, they're going to come through and do the mitzvah, whatever it may be. So again, that person who understands who he is, why is Hashem giving this to me? Because he only wants to increase my opportunity and making more difficult, therefore, but only who sees it this way? Only the person who has true Avos Hashem.